It'll take a few moments for people to come on, but it will let me know how many people are showing up. And as people are showing
Okay.
up, we'll get going. So, hello, everybody. If you are jumping on, welcome to the OT Schoolhouse. I don't know. I put down here a little live happy hour thing that we're doing today. We have Alanna Raffel on today with us to share a little bit about Google Forms and Google Escape Rooms. And I just realized I have a really weird shadow on my face because of my boom mic. All right. So, how are you doing today, Alana?
I'm good. I'm a little worn out, but I'm hanging in there.
Awesome. Yeah, I know what you mean. It's been a few long days for me. I was at work until almost 6 o'clock last night at school base.
Oh,
And
wait, so you're in person now?
well, I go to work, but the kids don't
Oh,
come to school. So I
uh,
have to work from my classroom, my very lonely classroom.
why? What is the goal of that? Just
I
to like, have you
yeah,
all in the same building?
I guess so. And it's funny because teachers, they're part of the union, so they have the option to not work from school, but we have to work
Right,
from school. Yeah. Yeah,
right.
it's pointless. I'd much rather work from my nice, comfy office where I am now and have a nice setup. And yeah. Anyways, we have over 30 people coming on right now, and they are happy to be here and learn about Google Forms. Everyone, as you're coming in, I'd love to see who all is here. So if you can go ahead and comment, let us know where you're from, or maybe how you use Google Forms right now. Let us know what you're interested in about Google Forms and technology in general. I think Alana and I both are pretty on the up and up when it comes to technology and using online services and whatnot. So I'd love to just hear what you're hoping for. As you can see already up on the screen, Alana actually does have one of her escape rooms already on here. She's going to share with us all about that and a few others that she has, and then she's going to tell us a little bit about actually how she creates them. So, hello, Tanya from Mexico. Welcome, welcome. Thank you for joining us today. That's super cool. Kara from New York, Mary from Missouri. Thank you so much for coming on. Is it Margaret from New Jersey? Welcome, welcome. So I'm going to go ahead actually, and I am going to welcome onto the show. We have Donna, Susan, Nancy. Thank you for coming on. I'm going to briefly actually introduce Alana, and then we will go ahead and get started. We have a lot of people from everywhere: California, Montana, New York. Hello, Dawn, Laurel, Kelly, Leslie. This is awesome. Thank you all so much for joining us today. All right, so let me introduce her so she can get going. You guys are all here to hear her speak, not me today. So let me do this really quickly, all right? Here it is, my little introduction spiel that I'd like to do. Susan from New Mexico says she does not use Google, or she has not used Google yet for Forms. So today we have on Alanna Raffel. I see. Did I already mess it up? Raffel. Alanna
Yeah.
Raffel. She is an occupational therapist and accessibility consultant. She graduated from the University of Maryland with degrees in psychology and dance. I find that awesome. I actually got my minor in film, and so I really like that whole. As OTs, we kind of get out of the OT world sometimes. She also went to Thomas Jefferson University for her Master's of Science in Occupational Therapy. She has worked as an occupational therapist in acute rehab, early intervention, ages 3 to 5, outpatient, and of course, a school based setting, like many of you who are following along. As part of her Access Point consulting company, Alana has facilitated accessibility in a variety of ways, including autism friendly Broadway performances in New York City. That's awesome. Open captioning at People's Light in Malvern. Did I say that right? And
Hmm.
organizing mapping events to collect data on physical accessibility. Again, another amazing thing. So please help me welcome Alana to the OT Schoolhouse event using your favorite button or emoji. Give me a
Mm.
thumbs up, give me a heart, give a happy face or smiley face for Alana. Thank you all so much for being here and helping me to welcome Alana. So Alana, I first want to ask you about this organizing mapping events to collect data on physical accessibility.
Yeah.
What did you do?
Yeah. So this is actually a few years ago. I started doing this leading up to my 30th birthday. And I like, my 30th birthday was coming up. People were like, "Oh, what are you gonna do? You're gonna have a party, blah blah." And I like kind of felt like, "Ooh, I think I have some sort of power right now." Like, all my friends and family seem to like want to do whatever I want to do.
Oh,
So I think I'm gonna use this power for good.
oh,
Um, and so I was like, okay, I'm gonna and in Philly at the time, I had been trying to, host more accessible events and whatever, and I couldn't find a list of like all the accessible restaurants and bars in Philly.
hmm
So I was like, I'm gonna make one, and I'm gonna make all my friends and family do it for my birthday. So I organized this whole event along with an app called Access Earth, who I'm still in contact with, and we're actually planning another socially distanced mapping event coming up in Philly in October. So if you're in the area, come join us. So yeah, so we like all gathered at a bar. This was like back in the good old days when you could do
hmm
that. And I like, mapped out Center City, Philadelphia, and I sent people in different groups to different areas, and they collected data in this app, and it was amazing. We collected somehow like thousands of places. And it's been great. I've been connected with this app since then. We've traveled together working on mapping events. It's been such a pleasure. And now I have like this amazing resource that I can use when I want to plan something accessible.
That's awesome. So, are you like going into a bar just to see what accessibility tools they have within like the bar, or are you going in to drink? I mean, I'm just kidding, but or are you looking at like sidewalks and stuff like that?
Yeah, so the app it has these like specific questions when you open up the map and you pull up a bar. We were at Field House, which is a really accessible bar in Center City, and it asks you these questions. So it's like, is the
Okay.
entrance barrier free? Yes or no? Is there a bathroom? Is it accessible? And then there's a question basically about like the functionality of the space. So like if the bar is accessible and you can get in, but it's all high top tables, and a wheelchair user would not enjoy that experience, like there's room for you to like write that out. So right now it is like kind of just questions about that physical space, but we are working with organizations here in Philly to kind of add in stuff about sidewalks, stuff about now that I mean it's going to go away soon, sadly, but all these like streeteries they're calling them.
hmm
In Old City, there's all just outdoors, so making sure that that's not encroaching on sidewalks. So they're really trying to expand,
Yeah.
but the basic gist of it is like, is this space accessible or not? And yeah, I have gone into places and have sent friends and family into places with just a tape measure and be like, hey, I'm just here to check if your door is 32 inches. Bye.
Wow. Wow. All right.
Yeah.
Hey, do what we got to do. All
Yeah.
right. So let's dive in. Everyone is here for the Google Forms, although I think we could talk an entire hour just on your accessibility stuff, but
Sure.
another
Yeah.
day, another time.
Well, yeah, we'll do that another time.
But so Google Forms. I use Google Forms specifically for mostly for surveys. If you've taken the A to Z school-based OT course with me, you know that I use it for collecting a lot of information from both parents and teachers when I'm doing my evaluations. I also use it for actually my intervention planning because it's really easy. I type into it and it just gives me a nice report. So I do use it for that as well. Um, what all do you use your Google Forms for? A lot.
Yeah, so similar things. I collecting information for sure. It's been super helpful. And I have used it actually when I was trying to before even partnering with this app. When I was trying to collect data on accessible places in Philly, I made a Google form for that. So it would say like name of the bar or restaurant, like yes or no, is there a
Mm,
barrier free entrance? Yes or no. But so I made this whole form that people could type into when they want to share if a place is accessible or not. And then that just gave me this like automated, beautiful spreadsheet that I could then share with people.
yeah,
Um, and I was able to like color code. It was great. So people, and I think it's much easier for people to type into a Google form. It's just so succinct
it
and
is.
like clear.
Yes.
And so I got a lot more response when I did it that way than when I just like tried to solicit information in other ways.
hmm
Um, so that was really helpful. And I've also been using it since virtual school started for collecting like progress monitoring. So I have forms for all my students and information about their goals. And I'm able to like, I just saw one student, I can open up their Google form, I can answer little pieces about all of their goals. I can also upload a file. So sometimes I'll take a screenshot of whatever work they did that I was able to see on the screen, which is like a whole, we could also talk about that for an
Yep,
hour
of course.
using the annotation tools on Zoom. But I take a screenshot of it. I can upload that screenshot into the, so like it's just everything is right there. It's been
Yeah,
so great.
yeah. All right. And real quick before we move into like all the fun details, you
Yeah.
wanted to be sure that we included a little snippet about closed captioning, I believe, right? Do you want to go ahead and say that real quick?
Yeah. So I just wanted to mention because I'm all about accessibility and part of that is about captioning. I know Facebook has mediocre probably automatic captioning, and so I just wanted to mention that after we finish this, once it's recorded, I'll be able to download it and manually caption it. So if you need a captioned version to fully access this information, I will probably get to that this weekend sometime. And Jason can send it out, or we can make sure it's somewhere. Just make sure you get in touch with us if you
Yeah.
need a captioned version. But just a reminder to everyone to be captioning your stuff.
Yes, and that is something I've been trying to work on too. It's trying to find the right place to make it happen. But I'll have to get in touch with you because you probably know more about that than I do. So,
Yeah, yeah. Happy to help you make that happen because I always say like yes, captioning was created for deaf folks, but it's so important for so many reasons. Like so many people need captions to fully access something. If whether
yeah,
you have auditory processing needs or whatever, there's just so many reasons that captions and transcripts for podcasts can be incredibly helpful too, even just for like SEO purpose,
several
whatever.
reasons. Oh yeah,
Don't fully understand what SEO is, but yes, apparently transcripts can be great for SEO, and they're also great for translation. There's so many reasons to do all of this access work. So, um,
absolutely. So, let's go ahead and jump into Google Forms. You already have one up right here. You have it titled OT Escape Room Number One: Messy Toys. What is this?
yes. Okay. So this is the first one I did. So this was probably, I don't like April, May when virtual school was just like really getting started. And I felt very overwhelmed by what those sessions were going to look like. And I saw another thing online about an escape room. It wasn't OT focused. It was like maybe a little bit academic or just fun or whatever. And I was like, oh, that might be fun. My students might like that. And so this is like the first one that I made. So like looking back on it, I'm like, oh, not my best work, but like I just wanted to show it to you because I think it's like a good example of what a basic form can look like. And this one is very like literally escape roomy. So the later ones I've made no longer have that like escape room vibe where you're trying to like figure out a secret code or whatever. Now they're just kind of like activities, but this one is very like that was the vibe I was trying to go for. Um, so I'm just gonna go through a
Yeah,
little bit of it,
yeah, go
just so you
for
can
it.
get a sense of it. Yeah. So I usually have like a little thing in the beginning that says what. Usually at the top, this one doesn't have it because I made like a simplified copy of it to share, but usually at the top it says something about what the focus of the Google form is. So like this one's going to focus on visual discrimination, or this one's going to focus on blah blah blah. So just so I know for myself what I'm focusing on this form.
Yeah, and while you're
Um,
changing to the next page, I just want to say that I admire you for putting number one out there because sometimes the fear of people seeing our work prevents us from putting something great like this out. So congrats to you for putting this out, even though
Listen,
yeah.
I'm not perfect for sure. And I feel like maybe you'll see like, oh, you can do it too. Alana's it's not amazing. Like you too can make a Google form.
Absolutely.
So this one I like was at the time, this is focused on what so I use grass, sky, and dirt letters a lot, that concept. I know not everyone does that because when I started sending this out and sharing it, some people were like, what are grass, sky, and dirt letters? My kids like know, like they are constantly doing grass, sky, and dirt letters. So if you guys don't do that, I use grass, sky, and dirt letters. Some people say small, tall, fall, I think. Anyway,
Yeah,
so like,
various.
small, whatever. So this is about grass, sky, and dirt letters in the beginning. So I made this very escape roomy. So let's figure out how to unlock this lock. So I made this little lock on Canva. I'm gonna go back and show you how to use Canva. Um, so I just made this other graphic where it has an arrow and it says, let's start with number one. Which of these letters is a grass letter? That's the first answer. So you look at row number one, look at the choices. I'm actually going to make this a little bit bigger.
There you go.
And okay, the answer is A. Let's try it. Woohoo, you got it. The first answer is A. Let's try the next one. Okay. Not very exciting, but you get the basic concept. You can also see if I had selected the wrong answer. So this is like the most complicated
Oh.
of this. So if you select the wrong answer, I always create like what will pop up is something to help you answer.
Mhm.
So it says try again. Grass letters are short. lowercase b and d are sky letters. So now it says which one is a grass letter, D, A, or B. So now you can look at this little chart I made. Oh, okay, A is a grass letter. Let's try again next. Okay, yeah, you got it. That's right. So the most complicated thing about these is that if you do want to do it that way, where answering one way will take you to like the next question,
Hmm.
answering the other way will loop you back around. Like you can kind of make that as simple or as complicated as you want it to be. I like to make it so that if you get the answer wrong, it takes you to like a hint
Yeah.
or, something like that.
Yeah. No,
But you don't
definitely.
necessarily need to make it that complicated. Anyway, so that's number one, just so you can see it. Um, this is one. So here you'll see at the top. This one was one about growing plants because I've been very plant. Real,
Is
real.
that your quarantine?
Oh, you have no idea. I started with one, and I have upwards of 30. So
Oh my goodness.
so I've been really into plants. So right. So I like just put up here, oh, okay, this is about short-term memory, sentence construction, visual perceptions. Okay, great. So just so you can get a sense of this one. So this no longer is like an escape room. It's kind of just like an activity about plants. So, okay, most plants grow in this order: roots, stem, leaves, and flowers. And then I scroll down and that goes away.
Mm.
And now they can answer what did I say? What part of the plant grows first? And a lot of times, apparently, my Chromebook kids can't do this, but my iPad kids
Yeah.
can. I can give them control of my screen, and they can select the right answer. Okay,
Yeah, and
roots.
just in case anyone's wondering about that, Chromebooks are very limited in what you can do as far as giving kids access to
Yeah.
control your screen. And Google Meets like doesn't have it at all unless you both get an extension, and that probably is not going to happen because districts put locks on what extensions can be downloaded. Um, so
Yeah, it's been very frustrating. And I need to do a little bit more research on this, but I'm so the main school I work at, they all have iPads or,
okay,
so
that's
they
nice.
they can control my screen, they can annotate whatever. Then I have one school of high schoolers who they're on Chromebooks and they can't do any of that. They can't control my screen, they can't annotate,
Yeah,
nothing. And it's been so frustrating because I'm so used to doing all this stuff with my other younger students who can, and they can click the answer. I can watch them click the answer. I can, so um anyway, it's been very frustrating. But
so
so
real
for
quick.
those kids that are using Chromebooks, I'll do all kinds of like I'll annotate myself and I'll like circle different answers in different colors and say which color is the right answer. You know, I've figured it out, but
Yeah. So Alanna, real quick, there's people are asking a few questions about this or
yeah.
comments. Sarah Cooper asked, "How would this work with an iPad? It's my understanding they cannot even share a screen." And so I know you can share a screen, but it is a little. You have to go through a few steps. But are they able? I think you're talking about you're sharing your own screen, right, Alanna?
Yeah, so I'm on a laptop and I'm sharing my screen. My kids are on their iPads and they seem to be able to control my screen. Like I'm sharing my screen, but then I give them control on Zoom, and then they like take control of my mouse and they can click around my screen and click buttons and things like that.
So I would call that a quote unquote advanced feature for Zoom. You do need to go on to like Google and just learn how to share or how to give a student control to your screen. It's not very difficult, but
No.
it's a few buttons that you got to press and you got to know where they are. They are a little hard to find.
Yeah, and I'm happy. Yeah, I'm happy to like even when I pull up my thing now, it says remote control. There's like a little thing at the top of my screen where it says mute, stop video, participants, blah
Oh,
blah
okay.
blah, and then it says remote control, and like I could give you control of my screen
Okay.
right
There was
now.
a few other just comments. Some people are saying they
Yeah.
use Jamboard. Some people are saying they use Whiteboard Fox. So there are other
Okay.
ways to kind of go around this. I think the
Okay.
other way that you could do this is also you could just send the link to the kid and then they could have this right in front of them, right?
Yes. So I have done that where if I have like a bigger group of 5 kids or something, I just put this link in the chat, have them all do it and answer, and then I can see their responses when they're done. It makes me feel like I'm not really participating for a while, which I don't love. I don't love being like, okay, everyone do this form, and then just sitting there and being like waiting for them to
Right.
finish. Um, so I don't. It's not my favorite thing, but yes, I've done that. Especially, I've done forms for like kids that are working on like life skills, personal information stuff, like name, like your address, phone number, and I'll make a form that's like a real form at a doctor's office or something.
Hmm.
And then they all have to fill out that form, and that feels like a little bit more natural and
Mhm.
organic. But what I've also done for those Chromebook kids is I've had them share their screens with me. And so
Yeah.
then I can still see what they're clicking and what they're, what they're type. I can watch them type, So it's harder when I'm sharing my screen, but if they share their screen, then I can see what they're doing.
Yeah. All right.
Um, any other comments or questions before I go?
Someone just said, is it possible to do this on Google Meet? Doing the remote access, you can't give someone, a student, the ability to control your computer on Google Meet unless you do. You have to get extensions, I think, on both computers, and so that is tricky. It's not impossible, but it would probably require the help of your potentially your school's IT department in order to install those extensions because they might lock them. Um,
Yeah.
so
And what I do, so for those Chromebook kids that I like just in that half an hour session, I'm just not able to figure out like how to make it work right away.
uh-huh.
A lot, so like these that I made in the beginning, I'm not as good about doing this, but like I'll usually write like option A, option B, and that way they can tell me the answer without click. They
Yeah.
can say, "Oh, Miss Alana, like it's option B is the right answer," so they don't have to necessarily click for me to know their answer.
Yeah, that's
Or like I
exactly
said,
what I
like
did.
what'd you
Yeah,
say?
I used your tricky letters one, your
Oh
tricky
yeah.
letters yesterday or last week, and I don't have. We're using Google Meet, so I can't give my students access, and so I just show them. I share my
Okay.
screen with the kid, and then I ask them, "What letter do you see?"
Yes.
So
Yes,
that's
I
how
do
I
the
do
same
it.
thing, and then I type it in.
Mhm.
Yes. Yeah, so I feel like I mean, we're all just kind of like playing things by ear right now and
Yep.
figuring out as we go along. But yeah, so like for this one, let's say for example, if I was like on Chromebook, I'm saying, most plants start growing from seeds. Which sentence about seeds is written correctly? And then I'll just say like, is it the first one, the second one, the third one, the fourth one? And then they can tell me which one it is.
Mhm.
So this one, for example, just to show you what happens when you click the wrong one. So let's say I do this one. So it takes you then to something that says, oh, that sentence doesn't have an uppercase letter at the beginning. It has it circled to show you. So when you go back, let's try next. We'll try it again. That one's not right. We just tried that one and it didn't have an uppercase in the beginning. And it's the same thing. The sentence with the period that doesn't have a period at the end, it'll tell you that's not right because of this. So only when you click the right one will you then be able to go on to the next question.
Good deal.
Great. So same thing. Okay. So that's still like kind of an activity. Then I also created some that are less about right answers and more about just like gathering thoughts and like kind of starting conversation. So this one I made for all my students when they started going back to school, just to kind of get them ready. So there's no right answers, but it's like, okay, let's talk about your plan for school this fall. This fall, are you going online? So they could answer what the plan was. I'm going to school online. And then depending on what you click, there might be different questions. So this one takes you, how do you feel about the plan for school? Are you nervous or worried? Happy you can click as many as you want, just to kind of get some conversations
Yeah.
going. And then this one, so this question, because of the way that Google Forms work with the ability to like split. So because you answered A, you go this way. Because if you
Mhm.
answer B, you go this way. So this one, because this kid answered that they're going to school online, it then takes you to a question
Wow.
about it wouldn't take you to this question if you answered that you were going to school in person. So then
Because
it
of
says, what
time
is one
too.
good thing about yeah, so it makes it more complicated. It takes longer to create when you're doing all these splits.
Mhm.
But I like to do that because it's like then when you're actually using the form, it's much more seamless.
Yeah. So we
Um,
have we have a question. I think it's come up twice now, and that is, how
okay.
are you doing one page per question with the next
Yes.
option?
Cool. Yeah. I will show you that. So I'm
Okay.
going to show you two more form. I'm just going to show you quick things about two more forms, and then I'm going to show you how to do all these new pages.
Okay.
So that was going back to school. Let me just move this little thingy. This one I just did about let's talk about masks and washing hands. So again, that's one where there's not actually. I think there were some right answers. These are all. I'm going to show you Canva. These are all graphics from Canva that I really like. So there are right answers here, but so like let's just talk about like what, especially because I have some kids coming in for in-person evals. I was like, maybe I'll prep them with this form about like where should your mask be. It's just such a new thing. So this form shares that. Okay, that's right. Great. And then just this last one, just to show you, this one I created because I found that people were talking a lot about like what the sensory environment was for kids at home, and like
Mm-hmm.
that it might be complicated or different or whatever, but that most people weren't really like addressing it and acknowledging it or talking about it and trying to figure it out. So I just, again, like for me, these are structure. Like, yeah, I can say to a kid, like, how is it over there? Are you comfortable? Like, are you focused? But I found that I myself need the structure of this kind of form so I can say, like, all right, let's check out the room you're in. Is
I
it
like that.
cluttered? Does the clutter bother you? Again, no right answers, but just being able to go through and say, okay, are there any distractions? Like I have some kids, like
Oh,
they're
that's
the
great.
TV's on in
Yeah.
the room. I didn't really like get to address that. Like I just sort of am like flying and rolling with it. But now I can be like, okay, is there a TV there? Is it on? Should we shut it off? And really be able to like just talk about that. How's the temperature? Are you too
Yeah.
hot? Are you too cold? Okay, it's just right. So anyway, so this form just kind of goes through, and I did it with all of my students the first week of school, and I'm gonna probably do it again in a couple of weeks just to touch base. So
That's
those
awesome.
are just some samples of some fun Google Forms.
Yeah, no,
Any
that's it.
thoughts or questions before I move over to how to make it happen?
I have a comment. First,
Yeah.
I just today I did a T chart with a student about what belongs in your work area and what doesn't belong in your work area. And so now
Nice.
that I'm seeing what you're doing here, that's like it could have just pulled this up.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Probably would have been great.
yeah, because those are the things I feel like we're not really like we're talking about, but we're not like explicitly talking about, I think.
Yeah,
And it's the same for and I sent this actually that to all the teachers at school just to be like, this doesn't need to just be for my OT kids. Like you can do this with all your kids. Like I think a lot of them are feeling like they don't know exactly what the environment's like at home and it's different. They don't have as much control over it as they did at school. So I'm like, talk about it. Like, talk about it. It's fine. You
exactly.
don't need it's not a secret. Like you can say, like, hey, is the TV distracting? You know, like I just want people to like feel empowered to have that conversation with their students. So
Yeah, so we
um,
have a few questions that have come in, but actually you're going to get to those, like where you got the graphics.
yeah.
There's another one or two that you're already going to talk about.
Perfect.
However, I do want to share this with you that Linda said that she used this one today and it made them feel good, that they were feeling good and ready for learning. So someone already used it.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes me happy. It's funny. I've been now that I've been like using them so regularly, like I keep noticing like little things in them that I want to change. And I will probably go back and change some things. But if you guys ever like are using one and something doesn't quite make sense, or like I noticed the other day I used the word desk and one of my kids was like, well, I'm not at a desk, I'm at a table. And I'm like,
Mhm.
oh, okay, that's what I meant. But I need to go back and write like desk or table, you know.
Yeah.
So if you notice anything that's like language could be changed or whatever, just let me know.
And that's another great thing about Google Forms is you can always change them slightly,
Yeah.
update them. We forgot to let people know about their ability to get access to these. We were going to share it at the end, but I don't know if you want to talk to that about it right now, real quick.
Yeah. So I'll definitely, share more details at the end, but you can I think these are all actually in the link tree on my Instagram. Which I think is access point PHL.
Yeah, and we'll be shared. I'll type it in the link to the comments right now,
Yeah.
actually, while you're talking. So go ahead, you continue on, and I will type that into the comments.
Great. And the other thing I will say really quick about using these forms is you can use it the way that they are, but you can also, I always at the end put in a link so you can make a copy of it for yourself so that if you want to change something about it or delete a question or whatever, you can make your own copy and it's just yours and it won't affect mine or anyone else's. So that way you can, like, if you're like, oh, I don't need this temperature question, whatever, like you can delete it and get rid of it and and it won't affect mine. So just keep in mind that always at the end, when you get to the end of this form, there will always be a link that says like, want to make a copy of it. You can also just use it to collect data with your own students. So you can create a thing where it says, put your name in the beginning, and then it will only be your students that you're collecting data on. So always at the end, there will be that. Anyway. Okay, so I'm just going to show you Canva really quick. Some of you may be familiar with this, and if so, ignore me. But Canva has been my best friend. I was paying for it for a while, and then discovered that you can get a free premium version when you work for school, I guess.
Yep.
So this is my new account, so it's like so fresh and clean because I haven't used it yet.
Mine is a hot mess.
Yeah, my old one is like, whoa. But so this is Canva. It's really wonderful. I also use it. I'm sure you do too, right, Jason, for Instagram posts. So yeah, you can make these like lovely Instagram posts. But when I'm doing stuff for Google Forms, I basically just open anything blank. Because I'm really just going to go in and make my own stuff. There's all these templates and amazing things, and I've done lots of different things with it. But usually, when I'm just doing graphics, look, it's like talking to me for the first time because I just opened this new school account. So usually, when I'm doing something for a Google form, I'll just open a blank one. So you can upload your own pictures, which is so funny. Again, I have like billions of pictures in my other one. You can use their pictures. But really what I'm doing with Google Forms is I'm using this thing called elements on the side here and text. And with this, it's basically like graphics. So I can put in anything. I can put like pencil. And because it's the premium one, I can use any of these graphics. There's less to choose from if you don't have the premium account, but pretty much anyone here, I'm sure, could get this premium account.
Yep.
And then you can kind of do whatever you want with it. So let's say, for example, I wanted to do like a getting ready for OT Google form. I could put a picture of a pencil. I can put some text here that says, my computer's a little slow. It's been working hard all day. Do you have a pencil? I can just move this guy. Okay, so let's say that's going to be my graphic. Usually what I'll do is I'll just take a screenshot of this just to like make my life easier. You can download stuff from Canva, but okay, great. Now you have a pencil, and then I'm going to go to my practice Google form activity that I made. So this is basically what I have on the screen right now will be your first page. So what you see when you first open the Google form. Usually I upload a picture of what that Google form's about, and I'll usually put my question that says, are you ready to play or whatever. I can add all these suggestions. Okay, great. And this one I'm going to make required. So now the way that I'm going to make this just stay on this page and create a new page is right here. So now I have a new untitled section. So the way I did that is this little equal sign looking thing that says add section.
Are you able to slightly zoom in like you were before?
Oh, yeah.
Just a little bit.
Yeah. That works?
There we go. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is my first page, quote unquote. I clicked this button that says add section, and it looks like an equal sign. And now I have this new section. Great.
And a new section is a new page.
A new page. Yeah, basically. Yep. So now I want to add that question about, do you have your pencil? So the way I add a question is I click this plus sign button. I'm going to add that picture that I just took. I can browse. Apologies if you see any weird stuff on my computer. Many screenshots. Okay, great. Do you have a pencil? It's huge. I can change the size. And then I can click these options, yes or no. Or like, no, I need to go get one.
I like it.
So I'm just going to show you where I like go back and forth a ton. So I'm just going to show you where we're at. So in order to view what I've been working on, excuse me, I have bugs in my apartment now since I have 30 plants. So I click on the top on this little eye, and that's how I can see what I've created so far. So here's that first page, practice Google form activity. Are you ready to play? I usually only put yes as an answer, honestly, but yes, not maybe. Now I click next. Okay, great. So here's our first question. It came up. Do you have a pencil? Yes or no, I need to get one. Okay, cool. I like to, like, every time I add a question, I go back and check that it looks good. Now I'm going to show you just really quick when I talk about that split. So what would happen if you hit yes versus what would happen if you hit no? So the way that you do that is these three little, I'm going to make this a little bit smaller for a second. These three little dots at the bottom of the question, you click go to section based on answer. So that means right now there's nothing else to go to. So I can't change, like yes and no, they would both go to the same thing because there's nowhere else to go here. So I need to add another section. So let's say this section says, great. By the way, this is like not what I would do, but just so you get the concept. Great, you have a pencil. Awesome. and then another section that says, okay, go get a pencil. So that's section 3, that's section 4. So now I can split this. So when you answer yes, it's going to go to great, you have a pencil. And when you answer no, it's going to go to okay, go get a pencil. So you can see now that I've made these additional sections, again, like this is where it gets complicated. And if you're like if you're seeing this, me explain this for the first time, and you're starting to be like, oh my God, what is she talking about? Don't worry. It's like kind of just, you need to do it. And it's one of those things, like if you just do it, it'll start to make sense to you. But I can totally understand that if you are seeing this for the first time, it might seem really convoluted and weird. But it's basically, it's just these like splits in information, and now it's going to go to 2 different paths. So again, you click these 3 dots, you can go to different sections based on your answer. So depending on what answer you select, it'll go different places. So yes will take you to section 3, and no will take you to section 4. So just to show you again, so yes, I'm ready to play. Do you have a pencil? If I click yes, it's now going to take me to great, you have a pencil. I would probably put another picture in there that has a pencil and a thumbs up or something. Okay, let's go back. No, I need to go get one. Okay, go get a pencil. So now you can see how that's split. That's basically how it works. Like now that I've done that, now I'm going to add my next section, and it's going to say, I'm going to go back to Canva. I'm going to make a graphic that says, do you have something to lean on? And then the question, the answers would be, no, I need to go get something. Yes, I'm sitting at a desk. And then that would then again take you maybe to different places depending on what you answer. This is like a simplified version of what I'm talking about. It can get more you could have maybe 5 answers that take you to 5 different places, or
that's crazy.
Or 5 answers and 1 is right, and that 1 right answer takes you to the one that says right, and these other 4 take you to one that says try again.
Yeah.
So
that little hint.
So it can get complicated, but it can be simple when you only have 2. So I know that can be confusing. So I'm happy to answer any questions I can answer in the next 7 minutes.
I've got one for you.
Great.
What grades do you use these forms with?
I've used them with so many grades. So the tricky letters one that Jason was talking about is basically, it's a really simple form. It's just like letters made out of pictures that start with that letter. So like an A made out of apples and a B made out of bananas or whatever. And that's there's not really even like, it doesn't split at all. It's just, what letter is this? And you have to type in the right letter. I use that with kindergartners. Yep. I've been using that with kindergartners a lot the past couple of weeks, just to kind of see where they're at with letter identification. And then I have them, the ones that can annotate, I have them trace those letters. Yep. So do that with kindergartners. And then I have one about baking cupcakes that I did with a 10th grader today. And it goes through like a recipe for cupcakes and asks questions about kitchen safety and stuff like that. So I've really used them with literally K through 11th at this point. Yeah. I just happen to not have any 12th graders, but yeah.
There we go. All right. I want to ask you this. This is a little bit, I think this is for people who may not be as familiar with the Google Suite, educational suite, and everything that you get. Explain the difference between Google Slides and Google Forms for these kind of things.
Okay. So, I mean, unless I'm misunderstanding the question, Google Slides is like PowerPoint. Yeah. So it's just like a slideshow, and I'm sure you can do very similar things. And I've seen people I'm not super into Google Classroom yet. I don't have like a Bitmoji room or whatever, or I've seen people do cool things with Google Slides. And I actually in the beginning was using Google Slides for that I planned sessions on, and I would create like an activity on the slide, and then the next slide would have the answer or whatever. So that also works. It doesn't have the same functionality that this does with like clicking answers and being able to take you to a new question. It's really just a slideshow. Yeah, I mean, you can
input links onto your Google slide, and therefore you could make it link from one slide to another slide. But Google Forms is designed exactly for this. Like, as you can see, she's not having to input links. She's just clicking on new section. All right, I want you to go to that new section. That's really what this is designed for.
Yeah, the inputting links in the Google Slide thing honestly gave me like, but I'm sure that's very cool if you can do that. This makes my life easier. You know, this was just, I can just input that's another thing that I didn't say about when I was showing you this. You can also, instead of, or in addition to adding in words, you can add pictures. So I like, because I like a multi-sensory approach, and for things to be as accessible as possible, I would probably, I don't usually do it for the first question, but for this, I might put the word yes and also put a thumbs up picture with that yes. Put the no and also put a thumbs down picture with that no, because then I have kids that maybe need those visuals or maybe do better with words or whatever. So that almost everything has like a picture. And this one, it doesn't even, it's like you needed the picture because the question is who is wearing their mask the right way. So you can add pictures as answers to the questions, which is really, I think is really cool.
Yeah, you just answered the next question. So good job.
Okay. I did that on purpose.
All right, so we have another question actually about slides. So I think we might have to do another another show like this with slides at another time, because I think it's a whole nother beast. I mean, they're both by Google, but they're very, very different tools. For instance, I use Forms for creating quizzes for my podcast, Professional Development. I use Forms for collecting surveys. You use it for creating amazing treatment activities. And then Slides, I use more for, personally, it's for professional development or for my, the presentations that I put together for the podcast and send out, or for the A to Z course. That's what I use Slides for. I also did use Slides for a zones of regulation little activity that I put together for my kids. And you could do that absolutely through here too. You have to be careful with sharing zones of regulation stuff. It is a trademarked, material. I don't own the rights, and therefore I don't share that material. But I say that because whenever I mention it, I get a lot of emails. But I can't sell it. I can't share it. It's not. I'm using their materials to create a personal thing for me.
Right. That makes sense.
But no, they're different tools. They have different uses, and a lot of people have gotten creative over the last 6 months to figure out how we can really use these tools and make them even better. So it's amazing.
All right. I have to say, like, this for me has been, I mean, virtual teletherapy is like for sure not my thing, and I will be very excited when we go back in person, although like a little nervous, but excited. This has been really helpful to me because I find like an OT session on the computer, it just feels very like amorphous to me and kind of weird. It just feels odd to me. And so having this structure and sometimes it like leads us to something else. Sometimes at the end we do, I did the bacon cupcake one today with this 11th grader. And I said, at the end, I was like, all right, like, let's write a paragraph about it. Like it doesn't all need to stay in the computer necessarily with this. Like it always like leads to something else. So maybe it leads to writing about your favorite cupcake or drawing a picture of a cupcake, or talk to your mom. Maybe you can bake cupcakes this weekend and you can go, use this recipe. So it's like very helpful for me as like a initial structure to work around, and then I can sort of play off of that structure. I don't need to like necessarily stick with this like 100%, but it gives me like a basis to work from that is very comforting for me, especially like when you wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, what am I doing today? To be able to like pull this out and be like, oh, this is like all set and ready to go in a nice little package. So if you can start making them for yourself, I'm sure like you're welcome to use mine, but I'm sure there are certain things that you would love to like make your own packaged version of. Like maybe your kids don't care about cupcakes and they want to talk about Sonic the Hedgehog. So you make one about that, so it's like so personalizable. So anyway, big plug for Google Forms.
Yeah, definitely. And the other thing is too, you can, even with Google Forms, just like we were talking about Google extensions for Google Meet, there's so many Google extensions for Forms. I mean, I've only dove into like one, but I'm sure that there's amazing things that you can do with Google Forms if you add extensions. But that is way over my head.
Same. But I would love to learn more about it.
Explore. All right. Well, I'm not seeing any new questions right now, but I do want to ask people. Thank you for joining us, first of all. And secondly, if you had something right now, what what's an idea? What are you thinking of right now? What is that idea that's just in your head? You're thinking about one kid, and you know that he wants something or she wants something about this. Share in the comments that form that you would like to create. Susan asks a question. Once you create one, where does it live?
Great question. Yeah, so they live in Google Docs, or what I guess is now called Google Drive. And I don't know if I have any like names in my Google Drive right now, so I'm not gonna pull it up. But yeah, it just lives in your Google Drive. Anytime you change anything about it, it'll save automatically. And for if you make a copy of one of mine, for example, it will live in your Google Drive. And you rename it whatever you want to name it, and it will live there. So it's accessible from anywhere. You can even do it from a phone. Like you can pull up a Google form on a phone, and it transfers really well to mobile, which is great.
Yeah.
So worst case scenario, sometimes I weirdly like get kids coming to OT from the car for some reason.
I haven't had
Um,
that one yet.
yeah, I've had kids like from the hair salon, from every, um, so they can pull it up on their phone and it still works. So yeah, it'll just live in your Google Drive, that magical place.
Yeah, Google Drive. I mean, everything is there. And unfortunately, I have like 4 of them, and I can never remember what is in which Google Drive.
Yeah, and then I'll be like on opening something, but I'm on the wrong. I'm like, it's not one that I created. I'm on a different account, and so it won't
Yeah.
let me edit it, and I can't figure out why. And it's because I'm on some other Gmail account, and yes, I have like a million Gmails, a million everything.
All right, so I'm going to go ahead. There's a few questions came in. I'm going to kind of cut us off on some questions. We've been going on for about 45 minutes now, so I'm going to read some of these questions and comments, and then we will call it an evening. We'll see how far we get. So
Yeah.
Tanai, I think it's Tanai, Tania. I'm sorry if I'm misspelling it or mispronouncing it. She says that she's interested in creating a sensory social stories one. That would be awesome. Catherine
Yeah.
says. Yeah, and Catherine says she made one to collect data for typing. That's a good idea.
That'd be cool.
Yeah. Amanda would like you to please re-say the name of the site you took a screenshot from. Oh, it's Canva. Canva. I've shared it a few times on the screen. It is canva.com. You can look up in the comments and you'll find it. Just look for the OT Schoolhouse picture and you will find it. I also shared her Instagram where you will be able to access all of these. Lauren asks, I would like to create a zones of regulation check-in form for social emotional learning, which can also be used as progress monitoring. Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Alanna, did you share that you create a page for each of your students for progress monitoring or something like that?
Yeah, so I think I mentioned that in the beginning, but that's what I did. So basically, every time a session's over, I can just open like Jason's form, and in there, I just basically answer like as if it was a form sent to me. You just have to kind of click the little eyeball, and it in my form, I created one for everyone. It says like their goals, and I basically can answer. I've created like if they have 3 goals, there's 3 sections to answer. And so after every section, I can put that in. I can upload pictures of like screenshots I've taken of what they've done. It's been really awesome. It's been so much better than whatever I was doing before.
Yeah, it's amazing what you can do. The one extension that I know of, it's called Autocrat. And what that actually allows you to do is create a template in like a Google Doc or a Google Slide. And then based upon where you put your answers in the form, it'll just put it into a certain space on your template on a Google Doc. So say you can create like a progress monitoring note, right? Like in a Google Doc. And then whatever you type into the form will just transpose into that Google Doc.
So it looks more like a progress monitoring note than like a spreadsheet.
Exactly. And someone did ask kind of what happens to all this data. All data is typically collected, but it's not like data. She's not asking you to type in your name or anything. So it's just like answers.
And to be honest, like, so always at the end, it says submit, and that's how you would submit the data. But a lot of people just like, even I'll get to the end and I just don't, because the goal, like the journey was the goal, you know? So like sometimes if I'm not like, I don't like this form, for example, I just want to like talk to kids about what they're thinking, or, talk to them about social distancing, like whatever. I don't necessarily even need to submit every time. I'm just kind of like going through the form with them as part of our session. But sometimes I don't need to look back at that information later. It was just like what we're working on today. But oftentimes I don't even click submit at the end. So there no data goes anywhere in that case.
Yeah, I think I mean, I was using the tricky letters one, and I used it all day long, and I don't think I ever actually, I mean, press
Right. You
submit.
probably never got to the end because
No, I
it's
never
26.
did. I never
Yeah.
made it to the end. I only made it
Yeah.
to
So
like,
I just use it as like, yeah. So this one, I got to the end, but like, maybe I don't need to submit it because I already did the activity with the kid and we talked about it, and I can still take notes on what they did, but I don't need to submit it necessarily.
yeah.
Unless you want to put your email in here and get more me to send you things, but other than that, it's not really.
Yeah.
And by the way, this is that link if you want to make a copy of the form. So you would just click that link and then it lets you make a copy. So then it's your own copy to do whatever you want with.
All right. So that's not a copy you need to see right now, but that is at the end of her forms. You'll see that link. And you click on that and it'll prompt you to make a copy, and then it'll save to your drive. So then you won't ever have to go back to her Instagram to find it. It'll just be right there in your drive. You'll see it right there. Susan said she would like to make a handwriting without tears type of form. That would be awesome. Doreen asked, would you want to share it? So obviously you share yours, and it's up to everyone whether or not they want to share their own. Are you able to move your screen slightly up and show us just kind of just the simple way to share? I know there's a lot of different ways to share, but right now we can't see because of the way that we're sharing the screen. There we go. Now I see this. I see the send button. There it is.
So yeah, so you can either literally send it. So here it says send, and I can just email it to Jason. Different Jason. Or I can just get the link. So here, this is where you would email it. This is how I would get the link. I usually shorten the URL. And then I just copy and paste that into whatever I want. If you want, you can adding a collaborator would let another person mess around with your form. I don't really do that much, but if you wanted, if you were working with another OT at your school and you were both working on something together, you could add a collaborator. But for the most part, I just either send it, I click send, and then I can either directly email it or I can copy and paste the link somewhere.
Yeah. All right. And then Anne asked if Instagram is the only place to access these. I don't know if you have another place where you have them all collected right now.
Yeah, that's a good question. They're not on my website. I want to get them up on my website, but I have to bug my friend to do that. But I can just email it. I mean, I can always email them to you.
Check out her website at alannaraffel.com. It's up at the very top. It's like the description of this video. You click on that. I'm pretty sure she has a contact page or something. Or your email up there, right?
And you can also email me at accesspointphiladelphia@gmail.com and just say, like, can you send me your forms?
There you go.
I'm trying to think if they're anywhere else.
And then I think the last question is will this be recorded? Yes, it has been recording. It'll be on Facebook. Facebook records everything, and I will just make sure that it stays up. So if you want to go back and watch it from the beginning, go ahead. But yeah, that is what we have for today. Thank you so much, Alanna, for coming on and sharing all this with us. We had a lot of people here, and I'm sure it's helping a lot. And right now you are getting many, many thanks coming through in the comments.
And please don't, I know this is like probably not super easy the first time you see it, so please don't hesitate to reach out with questions. And I think I did at one point film myself creating one, and I put it up on YouTube. So it's like probably a little bit more comprehensive if you need a little bit more information about Canva and really going through the Google form structure. So I can always send you that. Like, please just don't hesitate to email me and ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I said, you have many, many thank yous coming through right now. So we really do appreciate you coming on. And we'll have to do this again to talk about slides or accessibility or some other fun topic. So
definitely.
Thank you, everyone, for coming by. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you follow the OT Schoolhouse Facebook page and Instagram or whatever you follow the OT Schoolhouse. Really appreciate you all being here. And oh my gosh, thank you so much, says Doreen. I like that. I'm going to share that right on top of the video. She was so happy to have you to have you here.
Honestly,
So.
anything that makes our lives easier at this point is gold. So.
Dawn asked about a YouTube channel. I have a YouTube channel. It's OT Schoolhouse. I don't know if you do. There's not a lot on mine. I don't know if.
No, I think I have literally 2 videos. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not exciting, but I think I filmed this for someone else at one point.
Okay.
So there is a video of me explaining Canva and explaining Google Forms. So I'm happy. I can also send that to you, and
Gotcha.
you can share that out or however you want to.
Yeah. Steph, the Instagram account is up in the comments. If you look for the OT Schoolhouse picture, it'll be up there. I'll say it and type it in one more time right now as we sign off. All right. So thank you, everyone. Take care. And we really appreciate you all joining us this Wednesday evening. Bye-bye, everyone.
Good luck. Stay healthy.
Yes.